Welcome back. In today's video, I will take on not one, but two flat earthers. Prepare yourselves for more weapons-grade stupid. First up, we have Glen Hall and his video entitled
The Simplest, Irrefutable Flat Earth Proof.
Glen's a devout Christian who makes videos about the Bible and flat earth theories. So much so, he feels the need to tell people he's a lawyer and...
I am not a fool.
Oh, Glen. By the end of this video, you will be made to look the part.
I am not a fool. Fool. Simplest.
Now, Glen here has come up with what he thinks is irrefutable proof the Earth is flat. I'll be cutting his explanation for time and fair use purposes, so to watch the original video, you can find a link in the description.
You see the globe? Now consider an airplane. Okay, this airplane is going to fly always at a level altitude with respect to the Earth. As a plane would traverse the globe, it would have to be always adjusting its nose a little bit down in order to continue at a level altitude. Now, if you consider this plane going to the east here, just going to the east, you see that the plane always seems to be level with respect to the Earth, and then, if it keeps itself at a level altitude, then it would just simply land at a country on the other side of the globe. Okay? That's easy to see when you're going east and west. But what about when you're going from north to south? And this is the proof, and you can't deny it. So you start your journey at the Arctic, as far to the north as you can. And you begin to go south. Now notice, as I'm going south, I have to continue dipping the nose of my airplane in order to stay level with the ground. Now I'm going to continue all the way to Antarctica. Now notice I'm continuing to dip my nose down to stay level with the Earth. Now I'm going down into South America, continuing to dip down, and finally I get down here to Antarctica. And look at that. My airplane is upside down. Well, you're going to say, well, we know that people that are in the southern hemisphere are still standing right side up. Everybody stands right side up on the Earth. We know that. But yet you just flew down here. You're upside down. You cannot refute that. Your airplane is upside down and your head is facing down.
So, his proof amounts to, herder, plane right side up, then upside down. Planes are never upside down, so the Earth must be flat. It seems this man doesn't understand
gravity, you fucking retard! Gravity! Have you ever heard of fucking gravity? Gravity! Gravity!
You can tell he has an infantile grasp on the concept by his very first example, that of a plane flying from west to east. He has no problem seemingly with this example, despite the fact that relative to the Earth, his toy plane is flying sideways, which he sort of acknowledges but skips over as he turns it the right way to quote-unquote land. In this example, relative to Earth, the plane has also flipped upside down, depending on how you look at the globe. You see, he looks at gravity like a child might. The globe is built with the North Pole at the top and the South Pole at the bottom. He assumes gravity in space works like gravity in his home and assumes the South Pole is down. Now, who else does this remind me of?
Globe Earth my head. Look at this fucking ball. You see this ball? You know what? This is what you globe motherfuckers believe the Earth looks like, right? Okay. With water on it. See that? Just roll the fuck off. But you saying the only fucking way the goddamn water's still here and we ain't flying off this spinning motherfucker is because of some shit called gravity. Suck my dick one more time.
Oh yeah, that clown. Sir Sick already ripped this guy a new one, so I'll include a link to Sick's video in the description as well. I'll get back to Glen to explain why he's wrong in a bit, because we also have D. Marble making essentially the same claim. It's sort of funny though, because D. Marble seems to understand the concepts of proof and evidence a lot better than the self-professed lawyer, because he proposes an experiment in an effort to try and prove his claims.
One thing that anybody can do, this is a simple experiment that anybody can conduct to determine definitely that the Earth is flat. To grab $10, go down to your local hardware store, pick up one of these spirit levels. Grab a spirit level and take it on the plane with you. Now, I say take it on the plane because if we're living on a spinning ball or a globe that's 25,000 miles in circumference around the equator, according to curvature math, then the plane should be constantly dipping its nose forward in order to compensate for the curvature regularly during flights. But I don't know anybody who's actually reported that happening, and thus far it's just been speculation. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my spirit level onto the plane and prop it to a point to where it's level, and I'm going to record the fact that the bubble stays perfectly centered. And while that bubble is staying perfectly centered, it's going to be rather anticlimactic, but that's proof that the Earth is flat.
Both these twits are claiming the same thing, that a plane will dip its nose down noticeably as it flies forward and around the planet. Both do not understand gravity, or how a plane works, or even seemingly how vehicles in general are operated. First, let's have Gear Down FS explain airplane basics.
Most people probably understand that on an airplane, the wings are what allows it to fly, while the propeller or jet engines drive it forward. This is a good base of knowledge for your average Joe, however, a pilot should know there's much more to it than just that. In total, there are 4 forces that act on an airplane while in flight. These 4 forces are lift, thrust, weight, and drag. We'll start with lift and work our way from there. Now, the wing itself doesn't generate lift, it's more about the shape of the wing. The wing is shaped like an airfoil. In normal forward flight, wind passing over the wing, called relative wind, is what helps the airfoil generate lift. When air is moving across the airfoil, it is forced to move faster across the top than it is along the bottom. The slower moving air across the bottom puts more pressure upwards on the wing than the faster moving air across the top. This in turn creates lift. This is known as Bernoulli's principle. So while the wings are creating the force of lift, which is pulling the aircraft up, we also have the force of thrust pulling the aircraft forward. This is created by the propeller. So you can say that lift and thrust are 2 forces helping the airplane fly.
Essentially, your altitude, your height above ground, is based off of your thrust, how fast you're going. Marble shows this graphic in his video showing the path a plane flying perfectly laser straight and level would take if it ignored all physics and reality. If a plane could fly such a path on our globe, it would constantly be gaining altitude in an almost exponential rate relative to Earth's surface, and this would require the plane to constantly increase speed, fly higher into less dense air, and be losing lift. Who in their right minds will constantly be trying to pull up the plane higher and higher, then dip down to try and match the curve? Especially since the direction of gravity's pull, the direction of down, shifts towards the back of the plane as you follow this course until you're flying directly away from the planet. This is because of how gravity works. You see, all matter exerts gravity proportional to its mass. Our planet pulls all objects toward its center, so no matter where you are on the planet, the direction of down, the direction of gravity's pull, is always towards the center of the planet. This is why Glen's proof is so infantile. Yes, relative to its start position, the plane's upside down, but relative to the Earth from observers on the ground affected by gravity, no matter where it is on the globe, it will appear to be right side up. The plane doesn't actually flip upside down relative to Earth's gravity. Marble's claim is slightly more nuanced. He understands the concept of gravity somewhat. Well, as much as a scientific illiterate flatard can. Instead of simply herder plane upside down, he's working on the notion the plane dips its nose down at any rate we can detect as it goes around the globe. Firstly, he seems to forget how vehicles operate. When driving your car around in a circle, do you drive your car perfectly straight, turning the wheel sharply repeatedly to do a series of sharp turns and straight lines around the curve?
One Baker 11, he's at the end of the pier turning towards you.
Or do you drive like these same people are, turning the wheel gently and taking the curve at a gradual rate? This is how a plane goes around the curve of the Earth, in a gentle parabolic curve. How gentle? Well, now we need math, something Marble should have done. The Earth is roughly 12,742 kilometers in diameter. Yes, I'm Canadian, so I'm going to use metric in this video, damn it. To figure out the circumference of the globe, we take the diameter and multiply by pi, 3.14, and get roughly 40,010 kilometers. Why do we need the circumference? Well, he's using a construction level to measure the angle of the plane, hoping to catch it dipping down. This measures angle, not distance. A circle is made up of 360 degrees of angle. This is why our globe is divided by latitude and longitude. Each degree of each represents 1 degree of angle around a circle. To figure out how far around the circumference you'd have to go before you'd have to quote-unquote dip the plane's nose down, 1 degree, you'd take the circumference and divide by 360, which gives us roughly 111 kilometers. So for every 111 kilometers you travel around the Earth, you would have to also turn 1 degree downwards. Keep in mind, I'm using the circumference of the Earth at ground level, not at a height above ground, which means that I'm actually using the tightest possible turn the plane would actually have to do. I'm being extremely charitable to these flat earthers here, because in all honesty, their shit is so stupid, I can be this charitable to them and it still makes them look like morons. Marble is going to be flying on an Airbus A321, which flies at about 515 miles per hour, or about 829 kilometers per hour. This means his plane will have to turn a little around 7.5 degrees downward over the course of an hour to match the curve. This seems like a lot, but keep in mind this is done at a constant, gentle angle and not all at once. There are 60 minutes in an hour and 60 seconds in a minute. Dividing that 7.5 degrees down to the second, we find the plane only has to angle downward 0.002 degrees. A normal carpenter's level can only measure a difference of 0.029 degrees from the center of the vial to one of the lines. The angle the plane would have to dip down in a given second is 1/10 this angle. His level is not sensitive enough to even notice this angle, so from the very beginning of his experiment, it was flawed, and in more than one way. You see, he set his level while in flight. He waited until after takeoff and after it was set in its gentle parabolic arc over the planet before he set up his level. So now he's not measuring the plane's angle, he's measuring whether the level itself is level with the ground below. And as I explained earlier, as the plane goes around the planet, the direction of down shifts as your position does. So as long as the plane doesn't change altitude, his level will remain level. Worse, we know this will happen because he's basically attempting to mimic the plane's already existing device for measuring whether it's flying level, the attitude indicator, commonly called the artificial horizon. As the pilot flies the plane forward, he's trying to match his course to keep the horizon centered. This will mean he's already compensating for the curve from the get-go. Marble's level is basically mimicking one aspect of this artificial horizon, the plane's pitch. And the worst and most damning part, his level actually shows several changes in the plane's pitch. Yes, if you watch his video, he pops messages on the screen going 5 minutes and still level, yet you can see the bubble moving about in his level, and this movement is enough to account for if the plane actually had made constant adjustments to angle down over the curve. In reality, it's likely things like the pilots making minor course corrections, Marble moving about in his seat, strong winds, and the like. But had Marble done his math, he'd know even this minor amount of movement, were it from the plane dipping down over the horizon, would disprove his nonsense. But because he has not one clue what he's doing, seemingly expecting a huge change in his level, he can get off the plane with a smug smile on his face and claim the Earth's flat.
You saw it here. I decided to go ahead and do 23 minutes on the time lapse, and if my calculations are correct, that should have brought us over right around a little over 200 miles that we covered. And as you saw, there was no compensating for curvature, so I guess that pretty much settles it. The Earth is flat.
Both these nutters are so smug and self-centered in their idiocy that they don't even realize not only haven't they proven anything, but they've demonstrated the Dunning-Kruger effect. Anyways, that's it for me. If you like this video, please feel free to like and subscribe. If you enjoy this type of content and want to make suggestions for future videos, feel free to comment, message me on Twitter, or email me directly. If you want to keep up to date on when I post videos, feel free to follow me on Facebook and Twitter. And as always, I will see you next time.